Councilor Amity, how are you?
Because I'm not voting on
Doing good.
Good.
I got my blue and gold tie on, Mr. Gillum. I don't see you with the blue and gold on.
Trying to find one.
I got my blue and gold tie on, Mr. Gillum.
I'll have to sneak back there and get one, brother. Trying to find one. I'll have to sneak back there and get one.
Reverend Talbot. Good morning.
I'm glad you realized that, but that's what it's all about.
I see your blank room there, Brother Bartholomew. How are you?
How are you this morning?
Good morning, colleagues. We're going to call our meeting to order of the Southern University Board of Supervisors. Good morning, colleagues. We're going to call.
Okay, and then you can remove Dr. Sieber as well. He's with the nursing program.
Morning.
I'm hearing an echo. Colleagues, can you guys hear me?
Little reverb, as you mentioned.
Yes, I can.
Colleagues, can you guys hear me?
Little reverb, as you mentioned.
Yes, I can.
Okay, they're working on it. We're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Before we begin, just a reminder to please mute your. We're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Before we begin, just a reminder to please mute your phones so that distractions are limited. Also, if you have any public comments that are germane to this agenda, the staff is standing by to receive your comments. So please send us an email at public_comments@sus.edu. That's public_comments@sus.edu, or you may call area code 225-771-4364. You may also log on to our website at www.sus.edu. That's www.sus.edu, and click on SU Board, then Current Board Packet, and there is a link dedicated to the online submission of public comments there. Our invocation this morning will be provided by Father Thomas Clark, pastor of Immaculate Conception Catholic Church in Scotlandville. He also serves as priest at the St. Joseph's Chapel and Martin Luther King Jr. Catholic Student Center on the campus of Southern University. Father Clark.
Good morning, and thank you for this invitation to pray with you this morning. Let's bow our heads and ask for God's blessing. Good and gracious God, we come before you this morning with praise and thanksgiving. We thank you for waking us up this morning and blessing us with another day to serve you and our brothers and sisters. We give you special thanks during this Founders Week to be able to celebrate one more time the vision, the courage, and the perseverance of the men and women who founded and sustained the Southern University. We give you thanks for every opportunity that has been afforded, for every door that has been opened, for every glass ceiling that has been smashed, and for every hidden figure that has been lifted up. We pray, Lord, that your spirit of knowledge, wisdom, prudence, and understanding will come down upon this Board of Supervisors as they meet today. May they dialogue, deliberate, and decide according to your will and for the good of the students of Southern University. Lord, we pray for administrators, staff, faculty, and students for their health and for their safety. We ask for a blessing on all students, Lord, in this most unusual and challenging academic year. Lord, give every grace that they might overcome all obstacles, setbacks, and detours so that they may bring this semester to a successful completion. Lord, we pray for brighter days. We pray in hope of returning to more normal times. when we'll be able to gather together in person, face to face. Lord, we pray that soon and very soon, we'll be able to move out of the cloud of this pandemic into the bright sunlight of happier and better days, never forgetting the lessons that we have learned during this extraordinary year and never taking any one of your gifts for granted. We ask all these blessings, Lord, in your precious and sacred name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father Clark, for that prayer. We'll go now to item 3, our roll call, Dr. Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to everyone. Roll call. Attorney Rutledge.
Here.
Attorney Shorty.
Here.
Attorney Amity.
Here.
Mr. Bartholomew.
Piloting side of aviation.
Mr. Bartholomew.
I went on to work for a regional airline for United Express.
I saw him on
to
the
Wisconsin.
Dr.
I then went
Davis.
to work for AAR the first time in Oklahoma.
Mr. Fondell.
Here.
Mr. Garvey. Mr. Garvey.
Here.
Mr. Gilliam.
Here.
Mr. Hilliard.
Here.
Mr. Lawson.
Present.
Ms. Reeves.
Present.
Mrs. Smith.
Present.
Dr. Tarver.
Here.
Reverend Tolbert.
Present.
Dr. Whitfield.
Here.
Ms. Williams.
Present.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. We have all 16 members here. We'll go now to item 4. I'll entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda. And colleagues, please, for purposes of maintaining accurate minutes, will you state your name when you make the motion? Is there a motion to adopt the
So
agenda?
moved, Dr. Whitfield.
Been moved by Dr. Whitfield. Is there a second?
Second by
And
Christie
Smith,
Reeves.
second.
Been seconded by Ms. Reeves. Is there any objection to the adoption of the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda stands adopted. We'll go now to item 5, special presentations. Members, as you know, since we've been in sort of a virtual mode, we have dispensed with our Above and Beyond award, but today we received a special request that we are very happy to facilitate. And now we will recognize Mr. Pitts and Mr. Wade from the Office of Facility Services to present this morning's recipient of the Above and Beyond Award.
Mr. Chairman, the Board of Supervisors for Southern University, Dr. Belton, Dr. Williams, I bring you greetings from the Department of Facility Services. I'm not going to talk long, but I want to set the stage before I turn it over to Mr. Wade, our Director of Maintenance and Operations. This pandemic has created an environment of anxiety, fear, and for far too many of us, grief. Dr. Belton early on tasked my department with the mission of creating a safe space for faculty and staff to return to work and thrive. We contracted with a company that manufactured and installed plexiglass barriers, and we embedded them with our carpentry group. And Mr. Scott, Mr. Ralph Scott, is the foreman for our carpentry group. Mr. Scott has been in every building, every nook, every office, and he has provided a safe space for people to return to work and thrive. I remember getting a call to come to Blanks Hall, and my team was asking the woman, well, do you need Mr. Pitts to come? I mean, they were trying to extract information to figure out what exactly she wanted, but she was adamant she wanted Mr. Pitts to get to Blanks Hall. So not knowing what I was walking into, I grabbed Mr. Wade and we went to Blanks, and you can tell they had just installed plexiglass, and her desk was almost encased in it. And so when I walked in, she said, Mr. Pitts, I said, yes, ma'am. And she hugged me and she gave me a thank you card with $10 in it. And she started to cry as she explained how she didn't want to come back to work and how all she wanted to do was stay safe so she can play with her grandbabies. So if that happened to me, can you imagine the emails and phone calls that I've gotten about Mr. Scott? I mean, all the emails that have said, please pass these sentiments on to Mr. Scott. He's so professional. He's a man of integrity. He said he's gonna be there at 3 o'clock. He was there at 3 o'clock. And can you just pass on my many thanks to Mr. Scott and his team? So, and I see his team have gathered to support him. I wanna say to Mr. Scott, you know, at the end of the game, there's a few seconds left on the clock. We're down by 1. We got the ball. Well, that's an environment, a supercharged environment of anxiety and fear. And some people shrink in the moment. Some people rise up to meet the moment. And I want to say to Mr. Scott, you, sir, have stood tall for the Southern University. And it has been an honor and a pleasure to serve alongside with you. So as I turn it over to Mr. Wade, you know, they're big buddies. They go to lunch, they don't invite me, but they come back and tell me how good the food. Yeah, so I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Wade, but Mr. Scott, the day I hired you, your wife called and she said, Mr. Pitts, one day you're gonna thank me. And I think today is that day. Mr. Wade?
Good morning. The individual that will be receiving, the recipient that will be receiving the award today, he's been I would say an employee of facility service at the Department of Home, I would say over 2.5 years. And even in the interview process, we could tell that we were gaining someone with a wealth of knowledge, that we knew that we were adding value to our department. And even under his supervision, you can tell just in his day-to-day operations that his team has thrived. So Mr. Scott has definitely added value to our department. And it's funny that Mr. Pitts would get up there and say the same thing, that because it's the most impactful moment. And it's only because Mr. Scott had a vision to know that to return everyone in a safe manner, to return all staffers. And there was days that he was tired and I knew something was going on with him, but he would say, Mr. Wade, I got to get it done. And there was some important data inside there because it was a very detailed job. So there was a lot of important data that he had to collect in order for budgeting. So he went beyond just a carpenter. He went into the administrative aspect of things and making sure that we had the proper funding for it. So Mr. Scott, we thank you. And I want you to know that every leader must have enough motivation.
I apologize. Members, would you please mute your devices? Mute your devices. Thank you. I apologize. Please continue.
And I pause because it's very important that we hear this. Mr. Scott, it's very important that, and I knew you had the vision to understand that every leader must have enough motivation to go above and beyond of just doing their job. And he understood that and he provided that. So I know on behalf of myself, our department, especially Mr. Pitts, which is our leader, man, we thank you. We truly thank you. And on today, from the Board of Supervisors, we present you with the Above and Beyond Award to Mr. Ralph Scott.
Mr. Scott, would you like to have a word, please?
I'd like to thank God, first of all, for good health. Second of all, I want to thank everybody in the facility service, Mr. Pitts, Mr. Wade. Went for them, I wouldn't be here today. And I want to thank Southern University and the students. And it's just like a family here for me. I had been sick for a little while. But when I got well, I come to Southern just to see how everything was going. Thank you.
Mr. Wade, if you'll join us. And if you'd like to invite the other members of your team, whomever else is here who would like to join in the photograph, please come. Yeah, that's all right. If you'll stand behind the seal. If we just stand behind the Reverend. Mr. Scott, on behalf of our board, Dr. Belton and the entire Southern University family, it's my pleasure and honor to present to you this above and beyond award to appreciatively acknowledge your commitment to Southern University. Thank you and God bless you.
Okay, that's good right there. Everybody look this way, nice smile. All right, we good.
I think Dr. Belton said y'all could have the rest of the day off. I don't know. I thought I heard him say that. Okay. Thank you, members, for your indulgence with that. We go now to item 6, public comments, and I do have a few public comments. One is a public comment from a Dr. Tanya Rose, who has expressed due process issues with our tenure and promotion process. I did speak to Dr. Rose. She called me and I conveyed her concerns to Dr. Belton. And I'm hopeful that Dr. Belton and Dr. Sahu and the others will get with her and address her concerns because I believe they are legitimate. We also have another public comment from an Anthony Agidi. He is from the Southern University Baton Rouge Faculty Senate in Sociology, and I apologize if I mispronounced the last name. He merely wishes to convey on behalf of the Faculty Senate condolences and convey them to the family of Dr. Cameron Abdullahi, who is a longtime faculty member here on the Baton Rouge campus who recently passed away. We also have another public comment related to the Southern University Law Center. However, it does not align to an item that's on the agenda. But a letter was attached to a communication that was emailed to Ms. Taylor Jarrell. And board members, she will be forwarding that email to you this morning. Those are our public comments thus far. To the extent that we receive additional public comments, we will take them up at the time that they are received. We go now to action items 7. We do have at least 2, 3, if not 4 presentations this morning, members. And as we have done in the past, we will try to take some of these items up together. However, to the extent that there are questions or concerns about any item by any board member, we will certainly facilitate your question or concerns at the time that they are presented. We'll first entertain a motion to adopt item 7A, which is a request approval of the minutes of the February 12th, 2021 meeting of our board. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes of the press?
Myron Lawson, I move.
It's been moved by Mr. Lawson. Is there a second?
Ann Smith, I'll second.
Been seconded by Mrs. Smith. Is there any objection to the adoption of the February 12, 2021 minutes of the board? Any objection? Hearing none, the minutes will stand adopted. Members will consider items B through E. We will have a presentation from Dr. Ammons on item D. We will have a presentation from Dr. Ammons on item D. B, request approval of the law, agriculture, arts, business, science, engineering, and technology lab set collaboration initiative to enhance faculty development and Student Career Opportunities from the Southern University Law Center. C, request approval of an MOU between the Southern University Ag Research and Extension Center and Davis Farms, Inc. to solidify an agricultural partnership relative to research, extension, and teaching. SUA. Item D, request to establish Bachelor of Science in Nursing program at Southern University at New Orleans for the 22-23 academic year. And item E, request approval of an MOU between Southern University at New Orleans and Deep South Economic Mobility Collaborative to enhance economic development and business procurement opportunities, SUNO. First, let's put these in proper posture. Is there a motion to approve items B through E?
Offer.
It's been offered by Mr. Bartholomew. Is there a second?
Second by Reeves.
Okay, seconded by Mrs. Reeves. Now, first, Chancellor Pierre, is there anything you'd like to add on item B?
Yes, good morning, Honorable Chair and members of the board. Basically, this is just a request to have the board be aware and approve the collaboration of something that's actually going on, but we don't have a formal structure associated with it. And we believe that if we all come together in these areas, that with the partnerships established with IBM, AWS, and others, that we will be able to provide greater opportunities for faculty development and student careers, especially as it relates to the micro-credentials that students can acquire. And so basically, this is just an attempt to create some type of administrative centralization in terms of how things flow through and out. This opportunity was actually presented to me by Dr. Derek Warren and Ms. Yolanda Smith, who have been sort of leading this initiative just kind of on a volunteer basis. And Dr. Warren is here if you want any more information from him.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns regarding item B, members? Hearing none, we'll go item C. Dr. McMeans, is there anything you'd like to add to that item?
Just briefly, this MOU, this partnership came out of a conversation last year with the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus to ramp up and engage our disadvantaged and Black farmers. And also it goes hand in hand with our hemp trial. So this is a partnership that will further not only working with our farmers, but also our research in the area of hemp. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll go now to Dr. Ammons, and we'll recognize him to speak to items D and E. Dr. Ammons?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, President Belton, colleagues. This morning, I come to you to request approval for SUNO to implement a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. We have prepared a letter of intent that details the program that we are working to begin in the 2022-23 academic year. I want to thank Dr. Carol Seaver, our consultant, and Dr. Murti Kambampati, Professor of Biology, for their work in developing this letter of intent and the details of this program. As some of you may know, SUNO has been committed to developing a nursing program for several years. In fact, the letter of intent was approved by the Board of Supervisors and the Board of Regents in 2015. Now we have an almost new natural sciences building that opened in 2018. And the second floor of that facility is dedicated to nursing. Over 12,000 square feet, classrooms, a computer lab, simulation labs, offices, examination rooms that are ready for occupancy. Moreover, this program will assist the state and indeed the nation in addressing the overall shortage of nurses, produce nurses of color, and provide opportunities for nearly 700 qualified applicants that are turned away from the 17 nursing programs in Louisiana each year. We have carefully planned the resources needed to deliver a quality program, and we have a plan to attract experienced and well-qualified faculty to deliver the program. And the other thing that I want to add too, there has been just enthusiastic support for this program concept and this program throughout the New Orleans area. Supervisor Reeves, we now have a letter of support from Oshner Health, New Orleans East Hospital, Children's Hospital of New Orleans, and the New Orleans Black Nurses Association. And so, again, we think that we have put together a compelling plan for a program that will deliver and produce well-trained, well-educated nurses and go towards alleviating the shortage of nurses in the New Orleans area, but also across the state of Louisiana. And with that, Mr. Chair, we ask the support and the approval of the Board of Supervisors for the letter of intent for a Bachelor of Science in Nursing at Southern University at New Orleans.
Yes, sir. Did you wish to add anything to item E before we entertain questions or comments from the board members?
Well, the only thing that I would like to say about E is that this program has enlisted a network of historically Black colleges and universities across the country, and it is supported by Goldman Sachs. And these entities, for instance, the Small Business Development Institute at SUNO, will work with the mayor of New Orleans and mayors of cities in our region to provide opportunities, contracting opportunities for minority businesses. And so we'll see this network of HBCUs working in communities across the country to help small and minority businesses get contracts through city governments. So that's the focus of this MOU.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Members, are there any questions, comments regarding item D or E? Well, hearing that, I want to congratulate you, Dr. Ammons, on item D. I think that the addition of a nursing program at SUNO is potentially a game changer for the institution and could certainly provide you with a steady pipeline of students. I read over the backup material. I was particularly impressed with the faculty you identified who would support that program. And I was also impressed that you had a list of students that were already interested in pursuing it that you included in the report. So you seem to be well on your way. I'm sure you're already collaborating on some level with Dr. Brown such that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, since that we've already got a successful program here underway. And I congratulate you and look forward to this program being successfully implemented.
Well, Dean Brown has been a source of inspiration and a source of critical information that we used to develop this letter of intent. And we're definitely coordinating with her.
Thank you. Okay, members, it's already been previously moved and seconded that we approve items B through E. Is there any objection? Any objection? Hearing none, those items stand approved. We will now take up items F through I, and there will be a presentation on item F from Chancellor Pierre, and there will be a presentation on item I from Dr. Penny. Item F, request approval to create a new academic title of Professor from Practice at the Southern University Law Center. Item G, request approval of cybersecurity policy to establish the guiding principles for securing information technology resources. Item H, request approval of information security policy plan to safeguard campus data and information. And item I, request approval of graduate council policy for Southern University at Baton Rouge. Items F through I, is there a motion for approval of item F through I before we hear the presentation?
So, Mr. Chairman, Leon
Moved
Tarver.
by Dr. Tarver, is there a second?
Second.
Been seconded by Mr. Bartholomew. So we'll take up item F first, Chancellor Pierre.
Yes, again, good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. During the last year of the pandemic, obviously we've had to make a lot of significant changes and shifts to be able to accommodate the needs of our students as we move to first a remote virtual environment and then to a hybrid environment for the fall where we had both in-person classes, we had students that were in-person and remote, and we had students that were remote or virtual exclusively. So to ensure their safety, we had to really make class size much smaller. In fact, most classes are 30 students or less. And we had to go from what we normally would have with 3 sections of a course to as many as 9 sections of the course. So that presented a challenge to us in this context. We had to find practitioners who could teach classes for us. But we also had the challenge of the limited classifications, either adjuncts, where we wouldn't pay them as much, but we were fortunate to find people who were willing to do it. And then we also have a category for some of those folks called visiting professors. So after doing some research and actually having a conversation with Vice Chancellor Donald North, who's chair of Faculty Appointments, Retention, Promotion, and Tenure Committee, I had been pushing an idea for years. First, we started out with a practicing or a professorship for judges who just wanted to teach classes. And then we found some information about a category of professors, which are called professors from professional practice. And the idea would be, in the event we have a need and we find individuals who are capable of being great teachers, but they're not going to want to be engaged in the normal faculty activities, such as trying to do a lot of scholarly research. This would be a great way to create a category and have them as we need. They would still be under the same evaluation criteria as any other faculty member who teaches that have to be evaluated to determine if they're effective. But what we could do is we could build a cadre of professors who have significant practice experience, who could bring a wealth of real world skill-based learning to the students that we wouldn't have before. So this is one of those things that, had it not been for the pandemic, we probably would not have thought about this and identified this need. But this is an area where I think we have to be we have to be proactive. We can't be reactive to our needs, especially because of the fact that the law center's population in terms of students has grown significantly just in the last year and a half. So that is why I'm proposing this category, so that we can be prepared for things in the future and we can identify the professors who might fit in these categories. Of course, all of the regular processes that they would have to go through to be hired would be adhered to, the same thing, evaluation. It's just a different category that's different from adjunct professor and or visiting professor.
All right, thank you, Chancellor. Any questions concern members? Any questions of Chancellor Pierre on item F?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Leon Tarver.
Dr. Tarver.
Yes, Chancellor, is this position a tenure track position or is it full-time, part-time?
It's not a tenure track position. The idea would be we would want it to be full-time so that we could have those individuals have a greater teaching role, but it would not be a tenure position. We wouldn't be expecting them to do the things that a tenure track professor would be wanting to do. And it would be for a limited duration and also be subject to annual renewals or periodic renewals as set forth based upon whatever policies that are set forth. We would want to have the FARB committee involved in that process, but it would at least give us an avenue of being able to bring in those kinds of individuals. What's interesting, Dr. Tarver, is because of the pandemic, I have gotten great opportunities to bring in individuals from all over the country who want to teach. And because of the virtual teaching opportunities, we have had some wonderful practitioners who have contributed to the academic life of the students. So this is I think, a wonderful opportunity for us to do something a little different than what is normally done in traditional law school environments. I take note that in some undergraduate universities, you have research professors versus teaching professors. So there are different categories of professors, some that are not on the tenure track and some that are on the tenure track.
Thank you.
Does that satisfy your question, Dr. Tarver?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. We go now to Dr. Belton. Was there anything you wish to add to item G or H?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. We'll go now to item I. I know there's a brief presentation by Dr. Appenning regarding the graduate council policy. Dr. Appenning?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, sir, to the board, to President Chancellor Dr. Belton, to all the colleagues, faculty, staff, and students. I say good morning. The policy, Graduate Council Policy 1-017, is a policy that codifies simply the role of the Graduate Council on the Southern University Baton Rouge campus. The primary role of the council will be to serve as a policymaking and advisory body to the Dean of the Graduate School. Enumerated in the body of the policy as several functions, but suffice to say that overall, this policy will provide the guidance and also will effectively provide vision to the Dean of the Graduate School to help him effectively and efficiently operate the graduate school. What I'm most excited, Ms. Chairman, is that procedurally, this policy went through a thorough vetting process that began with a draft that was developed by the Dean of the Graduate School, but more importantly, was vetted thoroughly by the Southern University Faculty Senate. I personally saw several enumerations of the policy as it went back and forth, where the Faculty Senate provided valuable and critical feedback that was very constructive to providing this final document that sits before you. After the approval of the Faculty Senate, which was also codified in an email, the policy then went through the approval of the Council of Academic Deans, the Academic Council on the Southern University campus, myself, and then to the Office of the President for submission to this board. So once again, very proud of not just what this policy represents, but most importantly, the manner in which this policy was adopted, reviewed, and the vetting process that took place. Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to pause at this point. I yield back to you, and I'm happy to address any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Appenning. Any questions, colleagues? Any questions, concerns, observations regarding item I? Thank you. Hearing none, it's been already moved and seconded that we approve items F, G, H, and I. There are no objections. Those items will stand approved. All right. We will go now to items J, K, and L. J, K, and L. Request approval to establish the Brookshire's Super One First Generation Endowed Scholarship at Southern University of Shreveport. Item K, request approval to establish the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Endowed First Generation Endowed Scholarship at Southern University of Shreveport. and request approval for professional legal services between Southern University Board of Supervisors and our present counsel, DeQueer, Clark, and Adams LLP. Items J, K, and L. Is there a motion for approval?
Move it global, Mr. Chair.
All right, it's been moved by Mr. Lawson. Is there a second?
Second,
Been
Tarver.
seconded by Dr. Tarver. Dr. Ellis, would you like to add anything to items J and K?
Thank you, Chairman Rutledge. Just would like to say that within the last 6 months, we've received a $30,000 donation from Brookshire, a local grocery chain in Texas and Louisiana. And we also received $50,000 from the AKA National Organization. And what we have been doing at Shreveport is leveraging our Title III dollars and then leveraging the Board of Regents Endowed professorship funds to take those dollars and exponentially increase their value. So the $30,000 contribution from Brookshire will be turned into $100,000 once we're done. And the $50,000 contribution from Alpha Kappa Alpha will be turned into $150,000 endowment once we're done. And so that will allow us to kind of continue to support our students, especially first generation students, in perpetuity.
Very good. Any questions, members? Any observations? I'm not going to say publicly what I said to Dr. Williams and Dr. Belton privately about item K. That's been moved and properly seconded that we approve items J, K, and L. If there are no objections, those items will stand approved.
Questions, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Mr. Gillum.
Just a point of clarification on L dealing with the promotion and tenure track there.
Oh no, that's M, Mr. Gillum. I'm sorry, that we haven't taken that up yet. That's item M.
Okay, sorry.
All right, that'll be next. So we'll stand approved items J, K, and L. Is there any objection? Hearing none of those items stand approved. Now we will go to item M. Now, members, we have a number of items here that come to us from our tenure and promotion process. And the first one is from Southern University of Baton Rouge, which is item M and N. Item O is from SUNO. And item P is from the Law Center. Okay, those come to us from our tenure and promotion process, which is a peer-driven process. Before we take them up individually, I would ask Dr. Belton, if it's appropriate, just to kind of explain, Dr. Belton, the process in terms of the layers that these individuals go through before they get to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. And as the chair may mention, the promotion and tenure process is a peer-driven process. And as you look at the presentation or the schedule of events, it gives indication that the process begins at the departmental level and is reviewed by the department chair, the college, and ultimately reviewed by a institutional committee that bring forth a recommendation to the associate vice chancellor and ultimately to me in my role as chancellor. And so there is considerable diligence that takes place, but the point that I want to make is that for the most part, we lean on the experts themselves, the faculty body, to forward to us recommendations that align with the criteria that is in fact established by the faculty in lieu of one's request for promotion and/or tenure. So item M speaks to FY21, those applicants who have applied for promotion and tenure. And item N identifies the results of an appeal process, whereas based on the findings of last year's recommendation, faculty were given the wherewithal to appeal the formal determination, and N indicates the outcome of that appeal process. I'll stop there and entertain any other questions. And of course, the interim executive vice chancellor for academic affairs on the Southern University Baton Rouge campus is available to you if there are any discrete questions that you'd like to ask.
Members, any questions regarding item M, which is a request of approval to recommend tenure track faculty appointments at Southern University at Baton Rouge, and item N, which is a request approval of tenure and or promotion appointment for faculty who appealed the former recommendations on the Baton Rouge campus. Any questions or concerns for Dr. Belton regarding item M or N?
One, I thank Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd
Mr.
just
Gill.
like for either the president or Dr. Sahu to expound on the function of the university committee. And here's why I'm asking the question. In one of the applicants, and I won't call it by name, I noticed that being a peer review process, it had moved through the level of the department chair on a college committee, the dean, but the university committee in one of these instances had not necessarily approved the levels of approval below it. But subsequently, the vice chancellor, associate vice chancellor, and executive vice chancellor did indeed supersede the ruling of the university committee. So just a simple question. What is the role of the university committee in the promotion and tenure process, Mr. President?
Mr. President, may I?
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the Board of Supervisors and President Chancellor, and now the opportunity to explain the recommendation on the case that has been highlighted by Dr. Gilliam. It's to echo or to reinforce what my president said and what the chairperson of the Board of Supervisors said, that this is a peer review process. And our role in academic affairs and beyond is mostly to facilitate and coordinate the process and strengthen the peer review process at every level. We get involved only when there is disparity or when when the recommendations don't agree. In this case, we had recently gone through a SAC-COC review, and in that process, there is faculty academic qualification that is determined by academic qualification or the terminal qualification, and also by additional academic accomplishments. In this case, this faculty was found academically qualified or eligible based on additional evidence that we provided in terms of accomplishments. And so the committee wanted, by just looking at the terminal degree, did not find the faculty eligible, but the faculty through the process of, again, was restored to tenure track based on additional qualifications. So a copy of that was provided to the peer review committee, and then the decision was made that the faculty member is eligible for tenure and promotion. And then based on the preponderance of evidence from the department and from the college, a recommendation was made to the president requesting approval for tenure and promotion. We get involved only when there is a need to, but every effort is made to respect and to strengthen and reinforce the work of the peer review committee. This was one-off. This was an odd situation where they just looked at the information that was provided, and they needed additional information which was provided, and a recommendation, a decision was made.
Mr. Chairman, I can totally accept that. In other words, this was not based totally upon the fact of a credential, but for experiential and whatever other considerations you had.
Yes, and more than that. So it is an additional layers of qualifications that makes this faculty member eligible to sustain, in the tenure track position.
Thank you. That answers my question, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum. Any other questions, members? Any questions, concerns, observations on items M or N? Hearing none, Mr. Gillum, do you move favorably on the items?
So moved. Yes, I do, sir.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I believe that was Mr. Bartholomew. Any objection to the adoption of items M and N? Any objection? Hearing none, those items stand approved. We go now to item O, Southern University at New Orleans, Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Dr. Sahu explained, there is a peer review process that is longstanding at SUNO, which begins in a faculty member's department. It moves into the college, from the college university committee to the vice chancellor for academic affairs, to the chancellor and to the board. I think we were pretty consistent across the applicants for approval today. They have not only attained the appropriate credentials, but they have met the criteria that have been established in each of their disciplinary areas. And so we recommend and we seek the support of the board in confirming these recommendations.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Colleagues, any questions, concerns regarding item O? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Been moved by Dr. Tarver. Is there a second?
Second. Second, Dr. Whitfield.
Thank you. I'm not very talkative today. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection? Any objection? Hearing none, the item stands approved. Moving right along, we'll go now to item P, Southern University Law Center, Chancellor Pierre.
Again, good morning.
Morning.
So thank you all for allowing us to speak on this item, these items actually. So there are actually ours is in two parts. So the table was done, but there are 4 individuals that we're recommending based upon the evaluations of the Faculty Appointment Retention, Promotion, and Tenure Committee for tenure. And then there are 5 individuals who we're seeking to get tenure track appointments. So let's go to, for clarity, the four individuals as far as tenure are concerned includes Professor Phoebe Poydras, who is also our law librarian for the Southern University Law Center, Professor Mark Rourke, Professor Kenya Smith, and Professor Deliso Alford. So I provided a letter indicating that the Faculty Appointment Retention, Promotion, and Tenure Committee made the recommendation. They went through their evaluation process, which includes evaluating these faculty members in 6 areas, and they met the requirements according to the appointment committee. And after I reviewed it, the Retention, Promotion, Tenure Committee, after I reviewed it, I concur with their determination. So it is those 4 individuals we are asking this board to grant tenure to, along with the traditional and customary 6% increase in pay that comes with either a promotion or tenure approval by the Southern University Board of Supervisors. Of course, the increase would not be applicable until the next academic year, which begins in August 2021. So those, you want to take those separately?
No, we're going to just take item up P and all at once.
The whole day.
Yes.
Okay. The other 5 are individuals who we went through a search process to address, again, some of our faculty needs. And the increase in enrollment and everything that we've gone through. The 5 are Charlotta Forston, who also will continue her role as the director of the common law bar preparation program. It has Greg Sergienko, who will continue his role as associate vice chancellor for academic affairs, but also be appointed if the board approves at the rank of professor of law. You will note the long time experience of Professor Sergienko. It's very rare that we have someone that has the qualifications to even be appointed as the rank of professor, although he has to still acquire tenure under the rules. The other one is Professor Ryan Stoa. Stoa, who's also visiting professor now, but we would want him appointed associate professor and also a fellow of the Cannabis and Hemp Law and Policy Institute because of his expertise in this area. Professor Chandria Williams, who we asked for the tenure track appointment at the rank of associate professor, and Dr. Lynn Dye, who is of the group, the only one who did not have a visiting professor position or other position at Southern University Law Center. She is a visiting professor currently at St. Thomas Law School in Florida. She has a PhD from Arizona State University, as well as a JD and LLM and an MPA. We found that she was an impeccably credentialed candidate, and we would like to have her appointed as assistant professor and fellow of the Lewis A. Berry Civil Rights and Justice Institute because of her experience in social justice and criminal justice reform. So I respectfully ask that the board approve these individuals for their respective positions and or for those that we're seeking tenure also.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions, concerns, observations regarding item P?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman. Gilliam.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Either Bartholomew or Tarver. Is there any objection to approval of item P? Any objection? The item stands approved. Go now to item Q. Any questions, concern members regarding any of the items listed on item Q? Any questions or concerns? Is there a motion for approval?
Offer.
It's been offered by Mr. Bartholomew. Mr. Lawson, is there a second?
Second, Hilliard.
Second by Mr. Hilliard. Any objection to the approval of item Q? Any objection? Hearing none, the item stands approved. I know we have some new appointments on item Q. Dr. Ammons, would you like to introduce them at this time?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We are building a team at SUNO that I'm really excited about. And there are 2 new members that you have approved here today. And as a matter of fact, they're on the call and would like to say a few words to the board, expressing their thanks for the opportunity to come into this system and specifically to SUNO at this exciting time. Dr. Adriel Hilton, a scholar, a brilliant young man. Academic excellence, I think best describes him, an able administrator. And then we have Dr. Kim Rugan, who has served in higher education for a number of years, outstanding administrator, having served as vice president, executive dean in higher education, and has led Goodwill Industries in the position of vice president for workforce development and advancement, and has made a tremendous difference in the lives of so many who are served by Goodwill Industries through her fundraising efforts. And so I will ask them, and I'll start with Dr. Rugan, if she would come on and express her thoughts to the board, and then Dr. Hilton.
All right, Dr. Rugan. Dr. Ammons, they're telling me that Dr. Rugan is not on the call. She's
Okay.
trying to be admitted now. Would someone please admit her? She's in now. Dr. Rugan?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Ammons. Good morning, Dr. Belton and board members. It is with great excitement that I'm very grateful and thankful that you approved me to become the next Vice Chancellor of Advancement at Southern New Orleans. I'm a lifelong member of the city of New Orleans, and as I stated to Dr. Ammons, Southern holds a special place in my heart because I grew up in that particular neighborhood, and I want to see Southern flourish. I believe Southern at New Orleans needs to take its rightful place in New Orleans as being the #1 academic institution in our city. I pledge that I will do my best to continue on my fundraising efforts to bring as much money as possible to support the academic programs, the student affairs programs, and enhance the lives of the students at Southern New Orleans. So again, I thank you all, and I want to thank Dr. Ammons for his trust and confidence in me. And I look forward to joining the A-team, as I call it, Dr. Ammons' team. He has a lot of great ideas, and I want to learn as much as I possibly can from him. And again, thank you for your confidence in me, and you will not be sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Hilton?
Good morning. Thanks,
morning.
Mr. Chairman, President Chancellor Belton, and members of the board. I'm Adriel Hilton. I'm excited to serve as the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Chancellor Ammons and the search committee for affording me this opportunity. I look forward to working with Chancellor Ammons and his team, as well as the students, to advance the mission of the university and meet the needs of all students. I look forward to working with each of you.
Thank you. And in addition to Dr. Hilton and Dr. Rugan, we congratulate the others who have been given additional responsibilities and new appointments in item Q also. Yes, sir. Mr. Gillum?
I want to say, first of all, welcome to both of these fine additions to our system, Dr. Rugan and Dr. Hilton. And I'm sitting here looking at the Vita. I know that my fellow board member here in Shreveport, Mr. Hilliard, must be beaming from ear to ear because I see that Dr. Hilton is a distinguished Morehouse man. So welcome to all of you aboard.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum. Any other members? If not, we'll recognize Dr. Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and allow me as well to express my appreciation for your consideration of all of these applicants. And I speak specifically about item 6, Dr. Williams, as I have asked that she assume additional responsibilities that in fact, for the last year and a half, she has been advancing on behalf of the Southern University system. And so I just wanted to, and I might add, doing an exceptional job of doing so. So I just want to again express my appreciation to you for recognizing her formally by way of this endorsement and my appreciation for you having done so. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations to Dr. Williams.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. May I just make a comment on behalf of Dr. Torrin Sanders?
Sure.
I was focusing so much on the newcomers to SUNO and to the system that I didn't mention Dr. Sanders. And I just want to say to him, thanks for agreeing to take on these responsibilities. Mr. Chair, as you remember, you gave us a mandate to bring on new online programs across the system. Dr. Sanders is taking on this responsibility for the School of Social Work. As you know, social work is perhaps our signature program at SUNO. And now we are going to be able to extend the opportunity for students to avail themselves of social work through online learning. And Dr. Sanders is going to make, I think, a significant contribution to the growth of the university and the School of Social Work through his efforts. And I want to thank him for agreeing to take this on.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons, and congratulations to Dr. Sanders.
Thank you.
There are no other questions or comments regarding item Q. We go now to item R, which is a law center item, request approval to grant endowed professorship to the following for the 2021-2022 academic year. Chancellor Pierre.
Yes, again, thank you. So the Law Center was able to go through a process.
Excuse me, Chancellor, I apologize for interrupting you, but can you also speak to item R and S while you have the floor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So with respect to the endowed professorships, the Law Center is blessed to have many endowed professorships, and some of our faculty members who held those endowed professorships recently retired, and there became openings available. So in accordance with the procedures and processes set up by the Board of Regents and with our own Southern University Law Center, the Faculty Appointment, Retention, Promotion, and Tenure Committee met and evaluated the applications for endowed professorships and selected Professor Delisa Alfred and Professor Kenya Smith for two of the two endowed professorships that were vacant, and they have been approved by that committee, and I concur with their recommendation. So I asked the board to grant them the endowed professorship. With respect to the BA7, basically, just as an overview, it's really because we have been very fortunate to have a growth in enrollment that we have had additional revenue that we did not anticipate, or at least we had not originally budgeted for. And that is the reason for the request for the BA7. Mr. McClinton can probably give you more details because I let him and Mr. Hall carry through all the miniature, the numbers and all other stuff that goes with it. But I just try to keep pushing to make sure that we're in a good spot. But I want to thank Mr. Hall for all of his hard work and Mr. McClinton for making sure that we stay on top of these kind of things.
All right, Mr. McClinton, would you like to add anything to item S?
Good morning.
Good morning.
No, the Chancellor Pierre actually covered it. It's based on, which is a good thing, enrollment increase. And once we have increase in revenue, we're required to prepare a PA-7 to be submitted to the Board of Regents and the Division of Administration.
All right. Mr. McClinton is a man of few words. A lot of information, but a few words, you got to pull it out of him sometime.
Just said it.
He hadn't just got that way either. Yes, sir, Mr. Chancellor.
But more importantly,
Now, I see you winning. You need to, like a judge told me one time, you already made a good argument. You rested your case, you winning.
But I just want to acknowledge that the faculty, staff, and administrators have been working very, very hard. And because of that, we're able to do some things for those faculty, staff, and administrators. And the board has helped us a whole lot by allowing us to be able to flourish.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right, members, you've heard the comments on the presentations on items R and S. Are there any questions or concerns regarding items R or S? Hearing none, is there a motion?
This is Reeves. I'll move to motion.
Thank you, Ms. Reeves.
I second that. Whitfield.
Seconded by Dr. Whitfield, moved by Ms. Reeves. Is there any objection to the adoption of items R and S? Hearing none, those items stand adopted. We will go now to item T, our resolutions. Dr. Williams.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. President, and colleagues. Our February 2021 resolutions are as follows. Our condolences to Ms. Marva Sue Jackson and her family. Ms. Marva Sue Jackson was a native of Oklahoma and a resident of Shreveport, Louisiana. She was the mother of Dr. Leslie McClellan, who's the Chief of Staff and Executive Director for Strategic Initiatives at Southern University at Shreveport. She passed away on February 22nd, 2021. Condolences also to the Miss Gloria Spears Wright family. Ms. Wright was affectionately known as Mama G, Glo, or Auntie Gloria. She graduated from Southern University at Baton Rouge in 1957, where she earned her Bachelor of Arts degree. She was a middle school teacher who retired from Southern University Lab School in 1994. She was a life member and huge supporter of the Southern University Alumni Federation. She passed away on February 20th, 2021. Condolences also to the Miss Bessie Mae Theus family. Miss Bessie Mae Theus was married to the late Woodrow Wilson Theus, who is a relative of Drs. J.S. Clark and F.G. Clark. She passed away on February 9, 2021. Condolences also to the family of Marquise Jones. Marquise was a Southern University at Shreveport Connect student who recently passed away. We're keeping certainly his family and our entire student body in our thoughts and our prayers. Our condolences also to the Oko family, Michael Oko, brother, Professor Oko of the Southern University.
Hey, Mike, Dr. Whitfield. How you doing?
One second, Dr. Whitfield. Dr. Whitfield. Dr. Whitfield. Dr. Whitfield, please mute your device. Can you all mute Dr. Whitfield's device? Okay. Before he violates some patient confidentiality.
Right. Thank you.
I apologize, Dr. Williams. Please
no
continue.
problem, sir. We also again extend our condolences to the Oko family. Michael Oko is the brother of Professor Oko of the Southern University Law Center. He passed away on yesterday in Alabama, and we certainly will keep the Oko family in our thoughts and prayers. And last but certainly not least, we want to extend our sincerest condolences to Dr. Cameron Abdullahi and his family. Of course, Dr. Abdullahi is well known around this campus. He was a loyal and valued faculty member, research scientist, advisor, advocate of Southern University, just a great ambassador of the Southern University Agricultural Research and Extension Center, where he served for more than 28 years. He passed away suddenly on March 4th. In honor of Dr. Abdullahi, Dr. Apeening, along with the Faculty Senate and others, have established a scholarship in his honor through the Southern University System Foundation. We've also received a resolution from Dr. Barbara Carpenter and the entire Louisiana House of Representatives, which will be forwarded to the family, Mr. Chair. And that concludes our February 2021 resolutions.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Members, are there any other names you'd like to add to the list? Any other names? Is there a motion? This will be the last motion with the exception of the motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to approve the resolutions? It's been moved by Mr. Lawson and seconded by Dr. Tarver that we approve the resolutions. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the resolutions stand approved. I certainly want to convey condolences to the family of Miss Gloria Spears Wright. Not only did she teach me in the 8th grade at the lab school, but her entire family were very active members of the Southern University Alumni Federation. And for at least 10, 20, 30 years, they did not miss a single alumni conference. They were there as an entire family. And I had an opportunity to speak with her brother, Chester, as well as visit with her son, Jason, who was in school with me, and attended the viewing services for her on last week. We also, on behalf of the board, extend our sincere condolences to the family of Marquise Jones. I read in this morning's Advocate where his body was recently found. And so we certainly keep them in our thoughts and prayers. We'll go now to information items and our finance update. Item A1, our interim financial reports. Mr. McClinton.
And good morning. The interim report is in your packet, and the report is as of February 28, 2021. And the reports have been compiled by each campus, and I have reviewed the report. And in those situations, I think the last time we talked, I was here at the meeting, it indicated that we were still in the registration process. Those dollars have been posted now, and the revenues actually materialized. There were a few campuses that had a shortfall in revenue, but they have either reduced expenditures. In other cases, they're using CARES Act dollars. So at this point that we have made whatever adjustments necessary to end with a balanced budget.
Thank you. Any questions, members, regarding the interim financial report? Any questions? All right, we go now to item B, facilities planning project updates. Mr. Guillory.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and distinguished board members. In your package, you will notice that the report is mainly concentrated on the severe winter freezing temperatures that caused damages on various parts of the campuses throughout the system. And the campuses are still under investigating the building integrity, the building envelope system, be it the roofing, walls, windows, also underground waterline breaks, above waterline breaks, and electrical systems that will need to be enhanced in order to prevent future winter temperatures to withstand that in the future. So anyway, the campuses are sending in their reports constantly. I know that the last board meeting I spoke in detail of a number of buildings, but anyway, that's what's taking place on the various campuses. And as those reports come in, more detailed report will be reported. But on a more positive and exciting news, today after lunch, I will be meeting with Dean Andrews and a couple of his committee members to discuss the future College of Business building facility. We're going to look at possibly anywhere from 80 to 100,000 square foot facility for Dean for the College of Business. And under the directions of Dr. Belton, I've already started getting on the drawing board to look at a future football complex for the lab school. So these items here would complete my report. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory. Colleagues, any questions or concerns?
Yes, Leroy Davis.
Dr. Davis?
Yes, I want to congratulate Mr. Guillory and the faculty of the College of Business for this building. This is something we've been talking about for years, and I think it would position us to be competitive with a number of our other institutions who have built colleges of business, new colleges of business buildings in the last 10 years. So just excited about seeing the rendering of the new facility. Thank you.
Dr. Davis, you're very welcome. And I will definitely have the chair of that committee to get you on board with some of our meetings.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, observations?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Mr. Lawson.
I was just a question to Mr. Guillory. I'm excited as well, being a graduate of the College of Business. It's certainly overdue. And I commend Dr. Andrews for staying on it, and certainly all the support that's coming with this from the administration and the board as well. My question is this. It's related to our physical structure. I'm concerned about our infrastructure system-wide. Often tell folk, include my mayor, is not what I see that concerns me sometimes as much as what we don't see. Have we done a comprehensive look at our infrastructure across the plants? And I'm talking about our water systems, our electrical systems and things of that nature. And if so, is there a report maybe I could look at just out of being informed is my question.
Yes, sir. We have that report. That report was established about 20 years ago. And we've had approximately about $250 million of system-wide requests for state funding for campus infrastructure upgrade. So in particular, our sewer system for the Baton Rouge campus was installed back in 1949, and it's the same system. And as you tap into it, you use and upgrade materials. But we have run into problems with that particular system throughout the years. Now, the engineers in the 1940s knew what they were doing when they planned for that for long term. But those are the type of things. Our electrical system, we're making upgrades with the electrical system, the water line system, various upgrades are being made. But as you know, with state funding, you're looking at around $350 million cap. And those dollars have to be dispersed among other higher education and state agencies. But the state, through facility planning control and the Board of Regents, have really done a great job for the past few years in establishing dollars for us to make various upgrades with our campuses. And we have been doing that as an ongoing process for the past 5 years.
And one quick follow-up. Did you say our current infrastructure plan, our current one, is 20 years old?
Sir?
Did I hear you say that our current infrastructure plan or our current infrastructure analysis is 20 years old?
Yes, sir, and it's constantly being improved. Through investing every year, each campus has an audit that's done by the risk management, state of risk management. and they will audit each campus each year in reviewing their guidelines, reviewing their reports. So it's built up in a database, and so it's there for tracking purposes to keep up with that. And that way the Board of Regents have a backup plan, and Facilities Plan and Control have a backup plan to see what we are reporting, if that's in line with that report that's also established based on the guidelines of risk management.
Did that conclude your question, Mr. Lawson?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes, for Mr. Guillory. I think I heard you say something in regards to Southern University Laboratory School and their athletic department.
Yes, ma'am.
Did I know? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Will you just give me a briefing on that, please?
Yeah, under the directions of Dr. Belton, he asked that I investigate in the plan for a future football complex, football field, stadium, for the home side and visitor side, and future locker rooms and other amenities that would go along with that football complex. And at this particular time, I've been doing research and trying to establish a good budget, working closely with Dr. Brister and his athletic committee.
Thank you. So this is just in a discussion process.
That is correct. And future plans will be submitted to the Board of Supervisors for future approvals.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Mr. Guillory, one observation, well, maybe two questions. The shelf life of a facility assessment, back to Mr. Lawson's point, is less than 10 years. And while I appreciate your response that the current plan is sort of subject to continual refinement and updating, I would, Dr. Belton, like for you and Mr. Guillory to give some thought to an updated comprehensive facility assessment to include water and sewer, which is a different process. But there is a lot of conversation now about how we separate wastewater treatment and so forth in the public sector. And so that it's not cheap, members, to undertake that, particularly when we've got 3 different locations where we would have to do that on the Baton Rouge landmass and Shreveport and New Orleans. But I would like to have some sense as to what it would cost in round numbers to undertake an updated assessment in terms of where we are going forward. Number 2, Mr. Guillory, I conveyed this to Dr. Belton. I have seen this, and I did receive a phone call from a parent who brought their child on a visit to the Baton Rouge campus. Apparently, when we constructed some of the new dormitories on the Baton Rouge campus, the condensation that flows from those units, the air conditioning units, leaves some discoloration on the building. I know Dr. Belton said that you all have pressure washed them on an annual basis and so forth. I don't know, is there another way that you can address trying to mitigate that?
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, one of the problems with that particular situation that's caused it was the actual air conditioned units condensate drain line are constantly clogging up. It's just like at your residence. If you don't have a proper drainage flow of those condensate line, they will back up the pan and overflow into your home. Well, in this case here, with those particular window units, the condensate drain line, the way the trap is, the P trap for those condensate line were not constructed properly to give a positive drainage. And so I know that prices were submitted to, you have to reconfigure that particular drainage system in order to get a positive flow for that. And I know that it was a very costly expense at the time, and this is going back maybe 8 years ago. But I will get with Vice Chancellor Benjamin Pugh to see how progress is being made. And maybe they may have come up with a better way to solve the problem. But I will meet with Mr. Pugh to investigate.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Dr. Belton.
Just to follow up on Mr. Guillory's presentation, we have had the occasion to meet with Vice Chancellor Pugh and the Director of Housing. And as Mr. Guillory pointed out, the task is reconfiguring those water lines. And we have obtained an assessment of what that would cost. And we are scheduled to begin the work on that this summer.
Very good. Very good. I would also just encourage Dr. Belton, and you and I talked about this, just coming on and off the campus. Curb appeal is very important. Very important. And for this person to pick up the phone and call me and say, man, I know this may seem small to you, but I noticed it, my daughter noticed it, that kind of thing. A pressure washer will achieve some amazing results, not only just in our residential space, but in some of our other buildings as well. And so I just want to gently reinforce that point. Members, any other questions, concern, observations regarding facilities?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Smith.
I would just like to reinforce the fact that you were speaking in terms of the overall upkeep and pressure washing. I appreciate that because I do think that it makes a difference in our viewing when you come to the campus. It adds a degree of improvement to our total facility.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Hearing no other observations, we'll go now to item C, our president's report. Dr. Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. At this time, I would really just like to highlight the efforts of Dr. Robin Merritt and her team in facilitating Founders Day activities for the Baton Rouge campus and coordinating that with all the campuses that comprise the Southern University A&M College system. As you know, we were able to facilitate a convocation on Tuesday this week. Actually, on today, it represents Spirit Day for the Southern University Alumni Federation, where they are facilitating a scholarship drive that invites members throughout our community and, of course, members of this board to advance a memorial brick. That brick actually costs $500, but we certainly would welcome your participation in supporting that scholarship fund. I would add, though, that one of the major activities that we facilitated this week was the acknowledgement of faculty and staff and administrators who have contributed to advancing the mission of Southern University over the years. And of course, we recognize members who had fulfilled 10 years of service, 20 30, 40, and one individual who had contributed more than 50 years of service to Southern University. And that individual is with us today in the name of Mr. Flanders McClinton. And as you know, Mr.
Congratulations.
I wanted to publicly acknowledge Mr. McClinton for his service and see if I would engender the applause by in all ways is very appropriate, and Mr. McClinton continues to provide an invaluable service to our university system, and his contributions are felt on a daily basis. So again, thank you, Mr. McClinton, for your service to Southern University.
He kept my exit fee money, but I'm gonna forgive him for that.
I want to briefly just also give indication of the degree to which we are responding to the aftermath of legislation that provided resources to higher education generally and Southern University specifically through CARES Act, CARES Act 2, and now the Rescue Act that was most recently adopted by the congressional legislation. That we are at present receiving snapshots of what that level of funding will be, but clearly it draws upon, or it potentially will provide for the university an opportunity to assist students by way of emergency grants going forth at a substantial level, and as well as provide specific funding for minorities serving institutions to address such things as you were making reference to: technology, cameras and security, infrastructure that would lay a stronger foundation, for the university going forth. And so you should anticipate more updates from the system as we begin to define definitively what those allocations are, and indeed what we are permitted by way of the language in the legislation to spend those priorities on. But certainly that right now, it would appear that the system would enjoy more than $100 million worth of resources in keeping with those appropriations. I further wanted to just speak a little bit about the ongoing vaccinations that are taking place. We are continually serving faculty and staff and now students at our universities to determine what the demand is for vaccinations. We have scheduled drive-through vaccines, I believe, through the work of board member Christy Reeves. We are poised to facilitate more than 2,000 citizens in our community by way of a drive-through location at the F.G. Clark Center rather soon. And indeed, Member Reeves actually pointed out this morning that they have as many as 900 slots available for our community, faculty, staff, and or students who are poised to receive a vaccine. I'd like to just give a number, since I have the floor and we have an audience, for people to call to schedule for that. That number is area code 844-888-2772. And it's my understanding for all of those individuals who meet the eligibility criteria that Ochsner Health Systems is welcoming and inviting you to call, make an appointment, and take advantage of those opportunities on Sunday of this weekend. And finally, members, Mr. Chair, we want to just share with you that we are, as the governor pointed out, we are moving toward phase 3 in terms of reacting to this global pandemic. We are not prepared at this point to go to phase 3. We are working on a plan that would gradually move us to that point. But I will say to you that we are planning to, we are at present planning for the fall of 2021. And at this point, we are optimistic that we will facilitate an environment that will be comparable to the schedule and activities that would resemble what was in place in fall 2019 prior to the pandemic. And so we are optimistic that we will be facilitating and hosting students that would resemble some sense of normalcy, and that would enable us to provide for our stakeholders an environment that speaks to the Southern University experience in the fall 2021. Of course, we nevertheless will be cautious and be guided by science and by those who advise us along the way. But we are optimistic that that may well unfold in that manner. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That ends my report.
Thank you, Dr. Belton. Before we move to our campus reports, Ms. Reeves, would you like to add anything to what Dr. Belton said regarding the availability at Ochsner for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine?
Absolutely. And what I've learned since we've been on this call is that we have already had Pfizer and Moderna. J&J, we're now seeing more across the region. We have a lot of additional slots that have come available for this weekend and next week. But for anyone who is eligible, just call the 844-888-2772 number, and you can actually say which preference you have across the entire state. We have this kind of surplus. So we're excited about that. And any questions you might have, feel free to reach out to me directly.
Thank you. And since we've been in the meeting, I received a text message from Senator Regina Barrow announcing that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is available at the Zachary Youth Park. And I will forward this to Ms. Taylor Jarrell and ask her to forward it to you via email, board members, and you can share it accordingly. Any questions of Dr. Belton regarding his report, colleagues? If not, we'll move now to our campus reports, and we'll begin with Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to again thank the board for the approval of what I think are some really impactful initiatives at Southern University at New Orleans, especially the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program, and the approval of the new members of the administrative team at SUNO. And I also want to thank the New Orleans community for their enthusiastic support of the university, especially as it relates to the Bachelor of Science in Nursing and all of our partners who I mentioned earlier. And Ms. Reeves, I definitely want to continue to build on the relationship with Ochsner Health in the New Orleans community and all of the work that we have already done together as it relates to COVID. We have included our chancellor's report in your packet. And I just want to add to some of the things that President Belton said about vaccinations for the SUNO community. Dr. Whitfield, we have again partnered with DePaul Health Centers in New Orleans. They have provided access to vaccines for our community. And we are now working with them to create a site on the SUNO campus that would extend those vaccines not only to the university community, but the broader community, and especially the Pontchartrain Park and Gentilly communities. Also, too, one of the things that we have been engaged in at all of the campuses in the system over the last few years is accreditation. SUNO will host the Sykes COC Reaffirmation Committee on April 6th through the 8th. This will be a virtual visit. And again, this is our regular 10-year reaffirmation. One of the things that we're encouraged about is the fact that we have gone through the probationary period around financial resources, and almost all of that work now has been done as it relates to the overall 10-year reaffirmation. And now, Mr. McClinton, we're just waiting on the audit. That is the only document or only outstanding issue that we have as far as financial resources are concerned at SUNO, which is, just a huge relief, because the audit is just a matter of time before the audit is made available. To prepare the campus, we are going to host a mock visit a week from today on March 19. And so we'll prepare all of the members of the campus community for the virtual April 6th through 8th visit to include our quality enhancement plan, or our QEP, SUNO Speaks. And so we're looking forward to the visit. We have already received our focus report from the offsite committee. There were some areas that they identified. We have addressed those areas, and we're looking forward to a very productive visit. And once we get this done, then, it'll be 10 years before we have to go through this process again. So, but again, all of the support that has been given by the board to SUNO, the president, and the state of Louisiana, all of that support is paying off as we get ready to go into the last stage now for the next 10 years of accreditation. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Members, any questions, concerns, observations for Dr. Ammons? Hearing none, we go now to Dr. Ellis.
Morning, Chairman, Mr. President, and honorable board members. I just have a couple of things that I'd like to highlight from the Southern University at Shreveport campus. Again, the Chancellor's report is included in your packets. However, there are some things, as I mentioned, I'd like to highlight. So first and foremost, to piggyback on Dr. Belton and Dr. Ammons, we as an institution through our nursing program have been partnering with LSU Health to help deliver vaccinations in the Shreveport area. And so our nursing students, as well as some select nursing faculty, have participated in those vaccinations to the community. And I learned last night that LSU Health has provided over 40,000 vaccinations to this area. The next thing that I wanted to mention is about 2 weeks ago, we signed a historic agreement with the country of Uganda and Avance International University there in Uganda to begin a international exchange program whereby our students can start participating in some of their academic programs, and their students can begin participating in some of ours via online. And hopefully, as this pandemic subsides, there'll be actual physical exchanges, both with students and faculty. One additional thing is the Propel Center. Many of you all know that in January, Apple announced about $100 million that it was focusing on social and racial equity. There are about 13 HBCUs chosen as hubs for its Propel Center, with the physical main hub being at Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta. But each of the hubs will serve as resources to the community to help with the racial inequity and digital divide in the areas of coding and programming. And so Southern University Shreveport is one of those 13 hubs. Another thing that we're proud of recently is our military-friendly designation. While we've had the state of Louisiana designation, this is the first time in years that we've had the national designation. And this really shows our commitment not only to Barksdale Air Force here in the area, but to all of the military institutions that surround us in an effort to try to get more veterans in post-secondary education and through post-secondary education. One of the last things I'd like to mention is our engineering technology program. The board recently approved that program, and then the Board of Regents approved it last month at their meeting. The significance of that is we have submitted it to SACS for as a notification and final approval, but this particular program actually has a certificate within it that focuses on petroleum technology and process technology. And we're working with SUBR's Dean of Engineering, Dean Carrier, to actually provide that certificate program on the Baton Rouge campus. And so this will actually be the first occupationally based program that SUSLA actually offers outside of Shreveport, and we're excited about this opportunity. And finally, and this is the final thing, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Alan Jackson. Many of you may have seen on social media that during the snowstorm here in Shreveport, we were down for almost really 2 weeks, but during the snow, Dr. Jackson, who leads our financial aid efforts, drove about 45 minutes, 20 miles in the snow on his snowmobile to get to campus to be able to continue to work and assist our students. And so we're very proud of him for going above and beyond. That concludes my report, and I'll take any questions if you have any.
Members, any questions of Dr. Ellis? I had an opportunity, I was in Shreveport earlier this Sunday through Tuesday on business, and had an opportunity to visit with Dr. Ellis, along with the chairman of the Senate Education Committee, Senator Cleo Fields, the downtown campus, as well as the aviation program out at the airport. And members, and I'll talk a little bit about this when we get to other businesses, we prepare to go to Shreveport next month. I'm hopeful that we perhaps could have an opportunity of some sort of open house if the facility is available at the new facility that's going to house the nursing and expansion of the allied health program downtown on Texas Street while we're there. So thank you, Dr. Ellis, for taking time on such short notice to sort of give us a tour of those facilities and the wonderful programs that are underway. Dr. McMeans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable board members. Dr. Belton and colleagues. It is indeed an honor to come before you to give a brief report, and I'll end my report by further acknowledging colleague who recently passed, Dr. Abdullahi. But what I do want to talk about, we also have a chancellor's report in the packet. In our academic area, next week, March 15th through the 19th, is our Ag Week celebration. During that week, we showcase how Southern University College of Agriculture, Family and Consumer Sciences and also LSU College of Agriculture are making a difference in not only Louisiana, but the world. So we will collaborate, and that will be it is on our website at SU Ag Center. And so you can find that information there, but we will have an event each day next week. And of course, most of it is tailored around our students. Also, the Southern University Ag Center will be hosting its 79th livestock show on March 25th. And it will be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it will be virtual. Because of the current status, we decided back in the fall that we will deliver this virtually, as a lot of our colleagues across the country are doing. And one thing that I always highlight about the SU Ag Center is that we're the only HBCU with a livestock show. So that is something that's important. Next year will be the 80th, and we will start working on that immediately because that is a milestone for the program. And so I'll give you more information about that as we start to approach it. A number of individuals have been emailing and calling regarding some of the congressional language coming out about Black and disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. Over the next 2 or 3 meetings, I will give you updates on how the Ag Center, specifically the Cooperative Extension Program, is engaging those Black farmers, disadvantaged minority farmers. If you notice in the recent act that Dr. Belton mentioned earlier, there's $5 billion in there for Black farmers, all the way from loans for 1890s to support said group, and a number of things. And Chancellor Pierre and I will be working together to look at how we can collaborate on some of these efforts around our Black farmers. And last but not least, Dr. Williams did an outstanding job of updating us on the recent passing of Dr. Abdullahi. I've had the fortune of knowing Dr. Abdullahi for about 2 decades in my previous capacity. And recently, a lot of people don't know this because it did not even make it to President Belton. We were in the process of getting paperwork approved for him to become the Assistant Director for Research. And he was extremely excited about that and had already started planning, even though the process wasn't 100%, but we were well on our way. And I can honestly say he was probably the happiest I've seen him in a long time. But just so you know, and I'll close, but his impact not only on the SU Ag Center, but Southern University and across the nation as it relates to forestry and natural resources are second to none. Individual for 29 years brought in nearly $30 million to Southern University. The math is pretty easy on that. That's $1 million a year he was bringing in grants, and that's unheard of at any university. And 85 publications and 10 books. And so our phones have been ringing from alumni, his students, his colleagues from across the country, from across the world. And so we're really going to miss Cameron. And he really, he wore the Ag Center logo, but he wore that SU for Southern University. He really did love this university, and he will be missed. And we'll be sending out information relevant to some other announcements, such as the scholarship. And we will have a more formal service for Dr. Abdullahi in the near future, and I will get that information out as well. But I will conclude my report by saying thank you to Dr. Peening, Dr. Ning, Dr. Walker, and others for all the work they've done in welcoming his family and making sure things were put in place for his homegoing. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. McMeans, and we will certainly keep Dr. Abdullahi's family in our thoughts and prayers. I would like to ask, if you haven't already, please share the information regarding the virtual livestock show with the board's office, just that we can get it out there. Maybe will you be able to purchase livestock virtually like we have in the past?
No, we did not have that part of it. The virtual livestock show will be mostly catered towards youth and helping them on taking care of their animals. So we decided to forego that aspect.
So you won't be able to purchase any this year?
We always have meat for you to purchase. So but I'll see what we have in stock, but we're not going through the normal process.
Mr. Lawson texted me and told me he was out of pork chops. He wanted to get some. So okay, if you'll share that information with the board's office, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McMeans. Chancellor Pierre.
Yes, Chairman Rutledge and honorable members of the board, Dr. Belton. First of all, I want to thank the board for its continuous and constant support of the initiatives of Southern University Law Center that allow us to do bigger and better things as we progress in the work that we do. Obviously, the board has a report. I just wanted to say a couple of things. One, obviously, next month we will be meeting in Shreveport, and we will have a report on the progress of our initiative to bring legal education to Shreveport next year, if all goes well. In the spring of 2022, we'll start with the semester in Shreveport initiative. So we'll bring a report on that, and I think later this month, members of the Law Center staff will be going to the downtown Shreve Memorial Library to work on some things. We've been working with Dr. Ellis on the downtown situation. So we'll be glad to bring that to you. And since Chairman Rutledge indicated that perhaps there could be something done downtown, maybe we could even bring in some of the stakeholders from that to that event on next month, if that works out well.
Yeah, surely. Maybe we could do something jointly.
Okay, great. The other thing is that next week, we are going to be we're trying something new, and we are working with a group that has an interest in hemp legislation and policy and research. And we're going to try to announce an initiative to see if we can get some things going that will allow us to bring more resources to that effort, and perhaps as a residual benefit not only the Ag Center, but all aspects of the Southern University system through an HBCU initiative. So we're learning how that will work out, and we're trying something new and innovative, and in connection with the board wanting us to look at the programs that are in an online or remote. All of this is all part of that. So I look forward to that announcement, and want you to look forward to it. I want to thank Dr. Ellis and for working with us on the Shreveport situation. And I want to thank Dr. McMeans for the work we've been doing together. We believe that we may be hopefully at a point of doing something that will be transformative for the whole 1890 community. He mentioned one thing, obviously, that I did not get a chance to talk about, but the Thurgood Marshall College Fund has essentially created a situation where the John Deere Corporation is funding 3 of the Southern University Law Center students to work with the Land Assistance Fund in Atlanta for internships this summer. That'll be 12-week internships to work on the issue of Black land loss, Black agricultural land loss. So we've been involved a little bit in a lot of different things in a lot of areas that, again, shows the power of the system working together and leveraging that, as well as we were awarded a grant by the United States Department of Agriculture. It's a telemarketing or telehealth, teledistance learning type grant where we'll be able to provide distance learning to 5 rural parishes, and we'll be working with the Ag Center on content and delivery as it relates to that. So again, we just look forward to working with all of the various units of the Southern University system to make our work be more fruitful. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Pierre. Okay, now we'll go now to Dr. Sahu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable members of the Board of Supervisors, my President, my Chancellor. I would like to thank the board for your support, understanding, and support. Please know that your review and your guidance makes us a better, more engaged, more responsive university. And for that, we are grateful. I'll be brief. A report is filed and is in your package. I'll just provide updates on items that were included. We did go through an accreditation visit for the Doctor of Nursing Practice program. Accreditation is a way for us to demonstrate our capacity, compliance against standards, and also our commitment to continuous improvement. And the review was thorough, rigorous. There were 4 broad standards, but each of these standards had sometimes 15 to 20 substandards. So the review was for about, say 50 to 60 items. And you will be happy to know that the review of this distinguished peers, a very rigorous review, resulted in their confirmation that we are in compliance, and in many instances exceeded expectations on all 4 standards and all the substandards. So I would like to compliment and commend the leadership in the College of Nursing, Dean Sandra Brown, the faculty, staff, and the students for presenting Southern University in such a positive way, and also demonstrating how we are committed to continuous improvement. I would also like to mention that we are working very closely, collaboratively with the Mayor's Office of Baton Rouge to work with Snapchat in finding ways how our students can take advantage of internships and subsequent placements. And this is just one company that is interested in collaborating with us, but we are going to use this model and working with the Mayor's Office to make sure that experiential learning, internship opportunities, and subsequent placement is available to all our students. That's one of our 4 imperatives, is to provide placement of students in the careers for which they were prepared. I also want to end by requesting each of you to put a marker in your calendar on May 14th. We plan to host an in-person commencement ceremony for the Southern University Baton Rouge campus. We did that. We took a risk. We are bold, but please know that your approval and your support was very much appreciated by the graduates and by their families. This means a lot to them. And so I would like to invite you and to be present and see the result and your contribution, your guidance, what it does to the campus and to the students. So March 14th, we are planning for an in-person commencement at our stadium. This concludes my report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Yeah, and that's May 14th.
May 14th. Yes,
yes,
sir.
yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Sahu. We'll go now to item 9, other business. Just a few housekeeping matters, members. As you know, we will be meeting in person in Shreveport next month. It's a busy weekend. We are planning with Dr. Ellis, a reception on Thursday night. The location has yet to be determined. We're going to have a board meeting Friday morning. As you know, there are a number of other activities that are underway that we will be competing with. One of the things that we would like to do, as you know, we've got a number of initiatives underway in Shreveport by way of the Shreveport campus as well as the Law Center. And so we'd like to learn a little bit more about them while we are there, and we will work collaboratively with Chancellor Pierre and Ellis to get that done. And obviously we've got a big game on Saturday. Ms. Taylor-Jarrell has sent you some communications. If for some reason you will not be able to attend that meeting, please communicate timely with the office, confirming your presence and participation such that we can accommodate you appropriately. Still working with the athletic director regarding game day accommodations and game day management, because we're still very, very much under some restrictions in that regard. And so we will be communicating with you in the days and weeks ahead. And again, I do beg your consideration and cooperation. Also, members, I want to, they almost need hazard pay. Dr. Belton and our newly minted attorney, Mr. Gath, for their participation in the hearing that involved all of our higher ed before the Senate Select Committee. I also want to thank Dr. Kai Smith, who did a really good job as well. I say that to say each member of this board receives an email, and we're supposed to complete that training. Now, it is cumbersome, I know, and I'm guilty for ignoring it for far too long as well. But I want to encourage the board to please take time to complete that online training, because if you read in the Advocate, we have to report our numbers in terms of those persons who participate in the training. And again, we want to lead as a board by example. So I beg you to please, I know it is time consuming and cumbersome, but please take the opportunity to complete the training. And if you've got some IT challenges, just call the office and they will certainly have the appropriate people work with you to get it done. Dr. Belton, I'm going to join you and meet you in the brick challenge and purchase a brick as well. And I plan to attend the ceremony after today's board meeting. And I would encourage the other members of the board to consider purchasing a brick as well. Is there any, before we entertain a motion for adjournment, colleagues, members, is there any other business?
Just one item, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gillum.
First of all, I'd like to commend all of our campuses for significant increases in dual enrollment. It appears that everybody has they've kind of looked at this, and it's become very important to everybody. And I'd like to thank you too, Mr. Chairman, for your participation in the most recent school board meeting that was held here in Shreveport. And at that meeting too, I believe Commissioner Kim Reed was there, and also Dr. Bromley, who is superintendent of Bessie. They both gave their commitment to making sure that our secondary students would be in line and in sync with the dual enrollment program. I'd just like to emphasize, we want to make sure that our campuses as a system, that we are reciprocating with the process. In that regard, if you would, Mr. Chairman, if I would be in order, I would request, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, that each of our campuses would give us a brief update at the meeting to be held here in Shreveport next month. And I stress, give us a short version, campuses.
On your dual enrollment, Mr. Gillum?
Yes, please, just an
Yes,
update.
sir. Yes, sir. Dr. Belton will make certain that that happens.
It's each of the camps. And of course, as indicated by Mr. Chairman, Shreveport's getting quite excited about the festival. Indeed, make your preparations. Shreveport is preparing for you, and we're looking forward to having you here in our fair city. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum and Mr. Hilliard. We know that you all will be rolling out the red carpet for us. One other thing I failed to mention, and Dr. Belton or others correct me, our women's basketball team has advanced in the SWAC tournament and will be playing on Saturday. They're playing right now, and I believe if they win today, they will participate in the championship game on tomorrow. And I believe you can view that, members, on can any of you view it on ESPN3? Yeah. Okay. ESPN3 today and the regular ESPN, if that's appropriate, on tomorrow. Okay. Any other business? Mr. Gillum, do you move adjournment? He must be gone. Is there a motion for
If he
adjournment?
doesn't, I will.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Thank you, members. Have a great day.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Hold on, I gotta use the restroom.